People are so scared to start down here, and so they don't start at all. And it's a very common thing. It's like people psych themselves out of even trying because they don't want to look less than, or they don't want to be judged, or they don't want to publicly fail. Publicly fail. Just fail. You know what? You're one step ahead of someone who hasn't done anything. Fail twice. You're 2 steps ahead of someone who hasn't done anything. Because failure teaches you so many lessons and leads you to the next step of success.
Christian Crosby is an entertainer and entrepreneur. When he's not hosting the 76ers basketball games, he's dedicating himself to his company, Live Life Nice. It's a media company challenging people to not be assholes. Okay, that's not his words. I'm not putting those words in his mouth. Those are mine. But really, he's trying to challenge people to be nice. And that's something that I personally stand by. And it was great to chat about his story on today's podcast. We talk about dealing with doubt, taking tiny steps that appear to be tiny in hindsight, but that are actually huge leaps, like hosting small school assemblies to hosting the NBA All-Star Games. We talk about taking your work seriously, really taking the craft seriously, but not life. Enjoying life, being happy and energetic and positive, but also at the same time having that balance. It's a great conversation, really high energy. I think you guys are going to like it. Before we get into it, there's a couple ways that you can support this podcast. As you know, there's no advertisements on this podcast, which is amazing. You get to hear my voice for a couple minutes before we get into these conversations. So you're welcome for that. But if you want to help support this thing, if you want to help keep this thing going, there's a couple things you can do to help. You can leave a rating or review on iTunes. They help, and I do notice them. 5 stars only, people. Some of these people send in the 4 stars, the 3 stars. No, that's cool. Honestly, just do whatever you want. I don't really care. I just care that you are listening and that you're making an effort to contribute. That to me means the most. There's other ways that you can help. You can share your favorite episode with a friend. It's probably going to be this one because this one is killer. But if not, I'm sure there's another episode that you really liked, whether it was with Rich Roll or the Minimalists. If you got a lot of value from it, I'm sure that you have a friend that might also get value from it. I grew my freelance business through word of mouth, through clients talking me up to other clients, other prospective clients. And hopefully that's how I think this podcast will grow as well. Let's see, what else can you do? Oh, you can send in your questions. So if you have a question for me or for my guests, record a video or audio, please keep them under 2 minutes and send it to hello@mattdiavella.com. That's hello@mattdiavella.com. And then we'll get your voice on the show, and then we'll be able to help answer your question as well as help other people who are going through the same thing. And that's it. That's it for the intro. Let's talk with Christian Crosby. This is podcast episode number 51. Let's get into it. You're listening to The Ground Up Show, a podcast that inspires creatives to make meaningful content and pursue their passions. My name's Matt Diavella, and I'm a filmmaker best known for the Netflix documentary Minimalism. And I'm sitting down with creators to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. All right. Yeah, the YouTube thing. Dude, well...
Yeah,
Mine has been a slow build. I mean, literally in the past 2 weeks, it's been crazy. That's when things have really grown. So I went from 4,000 subscribers to like 14,000 in 2 weeks.
That's
was
crazy.
Fucking weird. I'm just like,
I know you were like,
I'm like, yeah. And then that's the thing is that I have a problem with that. And you know, it's like when you start to grow, you have those big bumps, then you kind of become a little bit too obsessed with the metrics. And then, so today was a day where I'm like, I'm not checking anything. I'm just going to, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to relax. I'm going to like read a little bit. I have to like replace that with something else. So I've that's just one of those things that it's exciting. And at the same time, you realize like that shouldn't influence what you create.
And it easily does.
Yeah. I think there's a balance of that probably, because if you notice that something strikes a chord, like, so I created a video, it was called My Minimalist Apartment. And it was just like the tour of my apartment. So that one blew up and it's got like over 130,000 views.
I see a lot of people commenting on all your stuff about that video still.
Yeah. That one it's just still growing. It's just been steady since I put it up.
Yeah.
It's not like it was just like, you know, on the front page of some magazine and then all of a sudden
Right.
it took off and went crazy. So for me, I was like, all right, like, it's really cool to see that. But then also, and I think that you kind of take note, you're like, okay, that like resonated with people,
right.
But you shouldn't just, now I'm not going to put out 100 different My Minimalist Apartment videos.
Right.
You
And
need
that's
to
what
kinda,
people see. The sad part about the success of content on the internet is like, when you receive that success, you're like, oh my God, how do I do this again? How do I repeat myself? And then sometimes people end up, like you said, sacrificing the creativity that they've always had for the sake of metrics. And there's a thin line, right? Because is that a bad thing? But then on the other side, it's like, was that the purpose? Was that the goal, just to get the numbers? Or is the goal something greater? Like, is it to be creative and to express yourself? So I think, I don't know, it's tough. That's a tough one, right? Because it's like, what is the goal? Like, is the goal like, I just want to do videos to get numbers and metrics and have people like them and make money? Or is it that I want to express myself and do that? Because if that's the case, you might not get the metrics all the time. So it's like, where do you balance that out?
Yeah, I just had Sarah Dietschy on the podcast, who's got like a pretty big YouTube following. She's got like over 300,000 subscribers. But her thing was, it's twofold. It's looking at both of them. So it's like, first I'm thinking about, all right, what's going to connect and resonate with my audience? Like, they're clearly coming to me for a reason. They're coming for tech advice. They're coming because they want to learn about filmmaking. And then there was the second one is, well, what do I want to create? What do I want to put out there? And every video you make doesn't have to be, you know, a huge hit or a huge success. Every piece of content doesn't have to be amazing. But I think that balancing those two is important. Actually, this kind of like reminds me of just myself starting a business in general, because when I started a business, it's like there's a lot of filmmakers and photographers and people that are more talented than me that weren't able to make things stick, that weren't able to make money doing it.
Right.
So it's like the skill is important, but it's also really important to make money and keep this thing going, because you know, that's the whole point. If you can do what you love for a living, then I feel like that's a win.
I think you nailed it with that. It just comes down to balance. It's like with anything, it's got to be balance. And like you're saying, even with creative, I think as artists, sometimes you feel like you're selling out, and that's not necessarily the case. You have to have that other side, that business side, that strategy side, that longevity side that keeps your creative alive. Because if your creative doesn't have legs or arms, how is it going to move?
Absolutely. You know? Well, man, thank you for coming on the podcast. It feels good to have Philly in the building.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, dude. I saw your content. I saw the Asher Roth one you did, and that's how I found you. And then I just started following you, and then I just started watching your stuff. And big fan. So it's
Thanks, man.
Really cool to be here, man. It's an honor.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate you being out here. Philly is like pretty near and dear to me just because of the time that I spent there. I mean, it was 2 years that I was there, 2 to 3 years. But like a lot happened over that time. I was going to Temple. I went to Temple actually for 2.5 years, and then I tried to make it as
TU.
Yeah, TU. T for Temple. I was talking about this with somebody recently, like the worst. What is that called? A chant, like T for Temple, U for University. Like it just doesn't have the right flow.
Yeah.
But man, I got into like basketball there, and it was just super exciting to be. That was my first time living in a city. It was where I started my business. All my connections, all my original clients are from there. So it's cool to have you on the podcast.
Thanks.
Are you from Philly? Is that where you grew up?
My whole life has been in Philly. I was born in New Jersey, so I definitely claim Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah, me too.
Yeah, like I don't neglect Jersey. I don't try to say I'm from Philly when I'm not.
Yeah.
But I have grown up in Philly from every place that I've worked, from the place I went to school. My whole childhood, I'm a Philly boy, so I just like to say Jersey, Philly. But I was born in Voorhees, New Jersey, South Jersey boy.
That's so weird because this is going to sound weird. I went to Voorhees High School, but it actually doesn't have a relation to Voorhees, the town. I actually went to Lebanon Township,
I was going to
say,
because Eastern is the high school in Voorhees.
Yeah.
Voorhees
I was like, but anytime I've heard, I'm like, Voorhees, shit. No, but I think it's weird because North and South Jersey are like different states.
Different states.
Like I literally meet people all the time, especially being in Philly, who are from South Jersey, and I'm like, I have no idea where you're from. Like, I've never been there.
Never heard of it. Yep.
I'm from like Clinton, Flemington, New Jersey area, which is like a little bit closer to New York.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that too is like obviously South Philly. South Jersey. A lot of Phillies fans there.
Right.
And,
It's all Philly, basically.
Yeah.
South Jersey is an extension of Philadelphia, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, most people are Sixers fans, Eagles fans, Phillies fans, Flyers fans.
yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's
Yeah,
actually-
we'll get back into that. We'll get back into like your ground up story and how you got things started. But you're off of like a high, as you were saying last night. One of the craziest experiences, I'm sure, of your entire life.
Oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. Last night, I hosted State Farm All-Star Saturday Night, which is the NBA All-Star Saturday festivities, the skills challenge, the three-point contest, and the slam dunk contest.
That's the fun shit,
For
man.
someone like me who grew up watching that every year, obsessing over the slam dunks, to stand on that court and be the voice of that moment this year was like, I wanted to cry. Like, it was unbelievable. I'm on this high right now, and trust me when I say, like, all of these motivational speakers that are like, you can do it if you, they are not lying. You can literally do anything. If I did that, you can do anything. Like, that's what I'm on right now. And I am living proof. I am just a black guy from New Jersey. Nothing different about me than anyone else. Like, and somehow, some way I hosted NBA All-Star Weekend. Like, what?
Unbelievable. When did you get the call?
They hit me up about 2 months ago. And they were like, "Hey, man, I've built a relationship with them over the last like 5-6 years." And they were like, "You've paid your dues. We've recognized what you've been doing in Philadelphia, and we think it's your time to shine. We want to bring you up to Saturday night." And I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like,
You like
thank
call your
you.
family. You're like, "Oh,
Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
it was unreal. It's cool. I started out with the NBA stuff on All-Star Weekend. I started out as a stage manager. So very the most bottom of the totem pole role you could have during NBA All-Star. You're a PA or a stage manager. And it's fun. You get a great experience. You get to meet players. You get to do a lot of hard work, and it's great. I did that for the first 3 years, actually. And then from there, I evolved into hosting for NBA All-Star Weekend. But it was just Friday nights, which is the Celebrity All-Star Game, some of the G League events, and it was really cool to just be able to evolve to the next level of the weekend.
Yeah, doing the behind-the-scenes stuff, did you ever feel like, because that's where I started out, was just like filmmaking, and this podcast was a chance for me to actually start having a voice and speaking up. Did you feel like you weren't really yourself then, or was this just kind of a progression of your career that came natural?
It's definitely a natural progression. One thing I pride myself on is staying true to who I am. There's only been one period of time in my life where I was neglecting who I truly was, and those were my college years. I kind of went astray. I think it's a natural thing we do as young adults when we're finally when we finally get the chance to just do whatever we want. We want to figure out who we are. We just want to double check sometimes, I think, and during that period of time, some people get lost and don't figure it out and become someone else that maybe they don't even like. Others have it figured out from the beginning, and then others like me test some things out and then go, nah, nope, and come back to who they truly are. So I think with my career, by the time I started my like real career journey, I had it figured out who I was as a person, which really helped me progress in my career. Because when you know who you are, it helps you kind of focus on what's most important. And like kind of like it allows you to not get distracted as much and get off track. So
Right. Well, I think that's probably the hardest thing, especially in those years of college, is like you. And my younger sister is going through this now, where she's like just about to head off to college. But she's like, "What should I do with my life?" And I laughed because she like kind of made it like a joke, where she's like, "I have no idea what I want to do with my life." And I'm like, "Wow, that's like a really challenging place to be."
Yeah.
Because at that age, it just seems like, holy shit, like it's coming a lot faster than I realize it. Like real life is going to catch up to me quick, and I need to start making money. I need to start like making sure I don't get caught up and trapped in debt. But to be able to know who you are is a solid foundation to be able to move forward and say, all right, at least I know who I am.
Yeah.
At least I know what I like and what I enjoy. And then all these other things I can kind of push to the side.
Everything comes second to purpose. To me, like, if it's not purpose driven, then it doesn't make sense to do it. And it makes every decision you make in life so much easier. And that is the most important thing. So when I talk to kids, I'm like, listen, it's okay not to know what you want to do with your life. That is absolutely fine. It's not okay to not know who you are as a person. That's not okay. And if you focus on that and versus trying to focus on like a career path or, oh my God, like how am I going to make like, don't worry about any of that stuff. Like when you discover who you are, it all falls into place because you quickly will understand what you should be doing versus what you shouldn't, and naturally a snowball effect will happen and you will evolve into whatever it is you're supposed to be. It kind of is really that simple. This is not my plan. Like me hosting last night was not my plan. Me starting Live Life Nice was not my plan. This is all happening as a result of me discovering who I am, knowing who I am, and accepting that and just moving forward. This is just what it's evolved into. And it's kind of, wow. It's kind of weird to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
It's the craziest thing is just kind of looking back at your journey and seeing the transition points and seeing how one thing truly does lead to the next. And every experience that you've had, whether it be in college or like your first job and your first career path, those things pave the way for that next step. So it's like, you know, last night, think about all the work that went in before that and all those other jobs that maybe even didn't feel like they were leading in the right direction, but they gave you some kind of tactical skill that you could then build upon. So what was that first job out of college? When did you start, working with the Sixers?
It's so funny. So, I started working with the Sixers right before college. I was trying to get into acting. And so I was doing this Philadelphia tourism commercial, and we wore pajamas, and we were basically dancing and flipping. And because of my martial arts background, I did martial arts for like 10 years since I was a kid. My dad actually owned a karate school, and me and my brother went there. And
What kind of martial arts?
Taekwondo.
Okay, cool.
And then it was a mixed martial arts school, so a little bit of Jeet Kune Do and a little bit of Wushu and a little bit of Jiu-Jitsu, but not really.
Yeah, I feel like these days it's like hard to find just a pure, the pure form of whatever that original martial art was.
Yeah, in the very beginning, it was called Kim's Karate, and I don't even know if there's any more Kims, but that was a true traditional Korean Taekwondo martial arts school, and we were there and. We had this guy, his name was Master Hassan, and he was the real deal. Yeah. Didn't speak a lick of English, like straight up. Like if you were not going to come to his class and do what he said, you were not taking his class. He wasn't like trying to fluff it or be nice or like marketing. None of that. It was like, you're here to do martial arts. You're either going to do it. If he kicks you, he kicks you. If it's just what it is. It was more old school.
Yeah. When people could kick you, you can't get kicked anymore. These kids these days are too soft.
Right. Yeah. It's a different world we live in now. But yeah, it was like that. But then the karate school evolved into something. My dad took it over, and they called it Character Quest USA. It's a weird name, but we taught principles, life principles, and different character traits that you should take on as a person, and that was part of the curriculum that you had to learn at the karate school. But anyway,
that's kind of like a basis to a lot of karate. Is that like, because I did it growing up. I did Isshin-ryu karate.
Nice.
Like for about 5-6 years, and I got my black belt just I think early college, and then I slowed down and just stopped.
It happens. Trust me.
It's hard to do karate as an adult.
It's hard to do anything as an adult.
Yeah, it really is. Making the time is tough. But, you learn like discipline, right? And like character building. Like that's all a part of it. That's like, it's the kind of the incognito lessons of martial arts, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was at this commercial. I was doing these flips, and these two girls were part of the Sixers dance team. And they saw me doing these flips. They come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, those are really cool, unique flips. I've never seen it before. What is that called?" I'm like, "Oh, these are like martial arts tricks." Because tricking is a martial arts like subculture where you mix flips and gymnastics with kicks. So I was doing tricking in the commercial, and they were like, "You'd be so good for this dunk team." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Like,
wow.
So I'm like, "Where is it? What is it?" They're like, "Show up to auditions." I showed up to the auditions, name dropped the two dancers. And I made the team, and that happened about 11 years ago. I made the dunk team, showed up to my first game to do the trampoline dunks, and my eyes were opened. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize the NBA had so many jobs. I didn't know they had PR and legal and community relations and market. I just thought it was a coach, a team, people showed up and watched basketball. I was just so naive. And I fell in love with it immediately. And I knew that I was like, I just want to be a part of this. And I know that something about this place is going to be part of my growth. I just knew it from the beginning. I don't know why. And from there, the rest is history. I just, offered my time whenever I could. I came in for free. Like it was never about money for me. I was the guy that was like, do you need anything? Do you want anything? How can I help? What can I do? I would come into the office. I started saying hi to everyone. People just knew me. And I was just a dunker. And then that's kind of how it evolved into me being like the right. So we used to have a mascot. His name was Hip Hop. And I became like the right hand man.
What was Hip Hop? Like, what was his?
He was a rabbit.
He's a rabbit.
He was a rabbit.
The Hip Hop rabbit.
And then Allen
sure.
Iverson. That was the Allen Iverson era. So the hip hop era. It was just kind of people identified that mascot with Allen Iverson and the era that Allen Iverson brought to the NBA.
What an amazing time to be doing that, dude. Like, that's a dream, right?
It was pretty cool.
Small window where you could actually be a part of that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So from there, I worked my way up. Not long after, I got a full-time position with the Sixers as the coordinator in the entertainment department. And from there, evolved into hosting with the Sixers and doing digital content, which led me into kind of what I'm doing now. So thinking back, it's just been an interesting journey, but my advice to anyone listening who's like, how do I do it? Like, it's really not about working for the NBA or working for Starbucks. It's more so about whatever you have interest in or whatever you really love doing. It's just a matter of starting now. There's never going to be a perfect time to do it. There's never going to be a sign that just do it, just go. Like, it's just like working out. The hardest part is starting, and then once you get in the flow, you feel better about it, right? It's like, just start doing whatever you want to do. We have so many resources now in our world, in our generation, that it's not hard to connect with people in the world of anything. It's really not. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and if you put some effort into just starting something, you'll quickly learn that you probably can do whatever you want to do. Like,
yeah, it seems like a big part of your story too is just like the kind of curiosity, and then also not waiting for permission, right? So you were what was it? It was called the Hair Raisers.
Yes.
The part of the dunk team, right?
Yes,
so this was the entertainers during the halftime show, and you would come out and you would dunk, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think many people could see like a seamless transition. I mean, obviously it makes a little bit of sense, but you wouldn't think, like, first and foremost, you're like an athlete and an entertainer, but then to be able to kind of step back and then help to manage and run the entertainment, I feel like that's a pretty big step for you. How was that how did you make that happen, and how did you land the job?
That's a great question. I think one big part of it was that literally I was just a good person, and I was a person that people like to be around. And I think that is so important for everyone to be. Like, just try to be the best version of who you are. Ultimately, I made a lot of mistakes, but most importantly, I didn't make the same mistakes twice. And I think that's the only reason why I was able to progress. I listened and I learned. I did everything wrong. Don't get it twisted. I was not the brightest guy. I was not like, I did everything wrong, but I never did that thing again. And when I did something wrong, I accepted it and I acknowledged it and I apologized for it. I owned it. I took accountability, and I'm so grateful that my parents taught me to do that. Because taking accountability for when you make a mistake is the most important thing you could do, especially in the corporate world or any type of business you're trying to do, because people will respect you. And as long as you don't do it again and again and again, they'll say, that person is growing, that person is learning. And so that's what I did. So I'll explain it quickly, right? I'm a dunker. That's it. I offer my time. I go the extra mile. I come into the office. I learn as much as I can in my role. I then become the right hand for my boss, who is a mascot. So what that means is when when my boss goes like this, I know that means he needs a doll. When he goes like this, I know that means he needs his confetti spray. I learn his job so well that I make his job easier for him, and I become valuable. So I went from being a dunker to now being a valuable dunker because I know everything about my boss's job, and I make my boss's life easier. So when I'm not around, he's like, man, it's not as easy. So that's valuable, right? So then, because I'm doing so much stuff that I'm not getting paid to do, I'm just offering it, right? We get opportunities where we're going to schools. And typically, a full-time employee from the Sixers would join the mascot and talk to the kids. But that's inconvenient for a full-time employee. But since I've gained trust from the organization being around my boss all the time, he says, why don't we try it out with Christian? So now I'm a dunker that goes to schools and hosts at assemblies. From doing that, they recognize my talent. Wow, this kid can speak, right? And so they're like, well, he's getting known more. He's getting better at the dunks. The fans are comfortable with him. Let's have him host our season ticket holder events. So now I'll go from being a dunker to the right hand of my boss to kind of the guy who hosts sometimes at these Sixers events. You see the evolution here? It's just, this is how it happened, right?
Yeah, and so these moments they seem pretty small and insignificant, but I'm sure like in the moment, these are pretty nerve wracking, right? Your first season ticket holder event, your first time speaking to kids at a school, like each of those moments are like, you're like, am I ready for this shit?
Right. You're exactly right. And you know, you're so right. Like I remember the first time I did the school assembly, it felt like how I felt last night at the NBA All-Star game. Like it was just like, I don't want to mess this up. Like I'm representing the Sixers.
Yeah.
Like what am I doing? I'm about to be on a mic in front of like 300 kids. Like what am I gonna do? But now I think that now it's just a school assembly. But no, it was a big deal. And I think what was important is that I thought it was a big deal and I cared about it and I treated it that way. You know, I prepared and I did the best that I could. And I think that energy was recognized. And I think between that and just genuinely wanting to do better and wanting to do more, it helped me grow. And so it came a time where we had a lockout and they discontinued hip hop, the character. So there was no more mascot. And they came to me and they said, Christian, we want you to run the dunk team. We're not going to discontinue the dunk team. We're just going to discontinue the mascot. And they asked if I wanted to take over. And I said, yeah. And that was my opportunity to prove that I could be a leader and that I could manage. And it was not easy. It was not just a cool transition where I was like, yeah, I'm a dunker and now I'm in charge.
Right.
It was a struggle. And I made a lot of mistakes. But again, like I said, I learned from them. And I did well. And so not long after I was the coach of the dunk team, they were looking to hire a new coordinator. And I remember the guy's name is Derek Hayes. He's the director of the game presentation for the Sixers. And he was interviewing people from the Lakers, the Chicago Bulls, like all these different people going for the job. And the vice president, Laura Price, came to him and was like, well, why don't you interview Christian? Because at that point, I was in the office every day anyway. And I wasn't getting paid for it, but I was just putting in the time. He was like, oh, my God, I never thought about it. But, yeah, like, he would be great. And he came to me and was like, would you do this? And I knew that I knew deep down inside I always wanted to be an entertainer and that I didn't really want to have a desk job. But I also knew that I lacked a lot of skills in that area of my life. And I knew if I took the job, it would help me so much. And so I took it. I took the job and I was introduced to a whole new world, the corporate world.
Oh, shit.
It's something I never experienced before. I never had to show up and be at a desk 8 a.m. every day before.
You had to wear, you have to wear a tie, did you?
I did.
Oh, shit.
I did. And I don't do that now, but when I started full time, I wore suits to work every day. It was weird. It was just a new world I was introduced to naturally. And I look back and I think that was the best decision I made my entire life because I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I fell in love with entrepreneurship and I fell in love with corporate culture and business only through taking that full-time job with the Sixers. And I wouldn't have even known that this stuff existed, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if I had said no to that job.
What do you like about that the business side of things? Like what drew you to that?
You know, I think what I love about business is finding new ways to get people to buy into something, like and having to use your brain and saying, how do I get other people to believe in X, Y, and Z? And how do I give them a service that makes them want to continue to give me revenue? Like, how do I like, the thought of that is really cool to me because I like creating, and I feel like you're saying, like when we were talking earlier, it's one thing to be creative, but it's another thing to know how to get your creative seen, like the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
Like those are two different things.
And the craziest part about it is how it's not black and white. It's not that easy. It's not, you're not going to read a book on marketing and figure out, okay, how to grow my, audience from X to Z. It's incredibly challenging, and it's a lot of trial and error. But I think that's what like businesses in general, right? It's like, and that's actually, like I've said this before, but how I see success is, first you just got to work hard. You got to bust your ass. You really got to put in the time and the energy, and you really have to try to make it work. But then you also need to be able to change things up, right? Like if you keep doing the same thing and get the same results and you don't change anything, that's insane. So you need to be able to say, all right, well, let me try this. If this doesn't work, let me try this. And then you just have to keep going and keep doing that. And then eventually you'll get lucky. Eventually somebody's going to say, hey, have you thought about Christian for the job? Or like, hey, have you thought of, you should follow Matt or whatever. And then it's just slowly you build out. But like, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it and everybody would be successful.
It's not easy, you're right. One of my favorite quotes, I don't even know who made this quote up, but if you want something you never had, you got to do something you'd never done.
I think it was Einstein.
Is that Einstein?
No, Einstein.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it was Lincoln.
I don't know. You want something you never had, do something you never done.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's really true. And it's really simple too, right? Like it's really simple. It's not as hard as people think. People create excuses and make it much harder and much more difficult than it really is. It's not. It's just a matter of, like you said, trial and error. Having the strength to keep going when you have nothing left. And it's all mental. It's like, just know that you're going to figure it out. And if you can just continue to reassure yourself that through the trial and error, you're going to be successful. It's really that simple. Like, you can only fail so many times unless you're
bad.
Unless you really enjoy failing and you keep doing the same thing and you just don't want to accept a truth.
Just sabotaging yourself.
Right. Like if you just don't want to accept a truth. But if you accept every truth that's thrown your way and you learn from every failure, you're going to get better and you're going to succeed. It's just natural. And like, as long as you are accountable, you're going to be okay. Like, it's really not that hard unless you're just making excuses for yourself. Either you want it or you don't.
You have to give yourself that opportunity to grow. And like you said, it's like that first day going to the gym. At New Year's, everybody has the resolution to go to the gym and get in shape, but it starts to kind of weed out and people don't stick with it. And that's the number one thing. Like if you get there, but then how do you stay there? How do you keep going? And I guess that's a question too. And I don't know if you have an answer for that one, but it's like, how do you keep that momentum going when you have doubt, when you feel like, how am I going to keep this up? How am I going to go from A to B to C?
Yeah, I think the whole create your own luck thing is the best way to put it. It's like, ask yourself, like take yourself out of your own life for a second and ask yourself, would you hire yourself? Would you follow yourself? Would you listen to yourself? Like, would you buy a product from yourself? Like, and be honest with yourself. And then ask yourself, okay, well, if I wouldn't, why not? Like, what do I need to improve? And just improve it. It's like, it's really, that's like, all right, let me explain. It's a couple of things, right? It's like ego number one. People got to let go of these egos. For some reason, we as people, it's tough. You have to separate knowing your potential and knowing your worth, which is great. That's good. Do that. But separate that from like reality for a second. You gotta tap into your reality. People stay too much over here and they're like, well, I know I'm going to be this one day and I know I'm going to do that. And what they do is they don't want to take step one because they just want to be this right now. And they're so scared that people are going to look at them and be like, oh, man, they're starting down there or they're doing that. Like, I thought they were cooler than that. Who cares if someone's saying that about you? Are they going to pay your bills? Are they are they going to do anything for you? Are they going to live with the results of your life? No, you are. Like, don't worry about those people. And probably those people don't care about you. And why are you worried about what they think anyway? And if they are people that care about you, oh, well. Like, it's your life. Once again, you have to live with the results. People are so scared to start down here. And so they don't start at all. And it's a very common thing. It's like people psych themselves out of even trying because they don't want to look less than, or they don't want to be judged, or they don't want to publicly fail. Publicly fail. Just fail. You know what? You're one step ahead of someone who hasn't done anything. Fail twice. You're 2 steps ahead of someone who hasn't done anything. Fail 3 times. You're 3 steps ahead of someone who hasn't done anything. Because failure teaches you so many lessons and leads you to the next step of success. And you might go a year or even 2 years doing something to fail, just to learn that that's not your path. But guess what? You have developed a series of skills and a series of things that have given you knowledge that will help you make the next step towards the right direction in your life. It's just, it's everything that you do is a positive if you look at it from the right perspective. It's really that simple, whether it be the bad things that happen to you or the good. And it's all about perspective and how you approach everything that happens to you in your life.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, it's about being real and being honest with yourself. And I think that that's where social media can sometimes hurt us, is because on Facebook, on Instagram, we try to present the perfect, already made it version of ourselves. The version that if everything would go right in the next 15 years, this is what my life would look like. And so then when you start to try to be real and you start to say, hey, make a podcast or put out stuff and, you know, authentically share how what you're going through and the struggles you're going through, it's harder to do that because you're like, well, I've been faking it this whole time.
Yeah.
So, but then the moment you are honest and you can actually tell people like, hey, I had a really, shitty day. Like, it was really challenging. This is what I went through. I made this mistake. I made this failure. That's the stuff people care about. That's the stuff people want to hear about. And that's because it also makes people feel like, oh, like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's like sitting here just making these mistakes every day and trying to learn.
Yeah. That is so accurate. And it's funny because it's like everyone says that, but then everyone posts stuff that they don't like other people to post. Right? Like,
well, yeah, that's what you were saying, right? Is that like think about yourself. Would you follow your own shit?
Right.
And like, if it just appears like your life is perfect, you're like, I don't know if I want to see all that stuff. I want a little bit of realness in there.
It's okay if your life is perfect, right? Because you're posting your truth.
Yeah, yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Like, if shit's going well, that's great.
You're posting your truth.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, if you're down and out, you post yourself like...
don't post like you like, crying in the mirror.
I'm not saying
unless you want to, unless it's your truth. No, I don't know.
Right, but like it's just when you're trying to create a brand or trying to start a career or whether it be social media or whether it be just a career path or whatever, it's like you just gotta live in your truth. And I think that's what really helped me move ahead. I think I never tried to be perceived as something that I wasn't or as someone that I wasn't. And I think people love that about me and respect that and want to support that. And even maybe sometimes where I wasn't the most experienced or the most intelligent, I had the most drive and the most passion, and I had the most favor. And I think it comes from living in my truth and being open and willing to change and be flexible and be open-minded and grind. You know what I mean? And I'm still learning right now, like, with this startup Live Life Nice that I have partners that have been in the business for 20 plus years who know 10 times more than me and are 10 times smarter than me. And I'm learning so much working with them, and I'm learning a new perspective and a new language, how to speak to people, how to approach people, how to receive information. I'm learning how to think from a bigger standpoint than my own. And it's teaching me a new way to approach life, and it's helping me grow as a person too. So I don't think that I would be able to even move forward in my career right now as I take my next step, unless I change again. Like, it's an ever-changing, ever-growing, evergreen thing where you're just consistently having to learn how to evolve. And I think that's what success is. If you think about any business or any celebrity or any musician or artist, think about their beginning and now think about where they are now. 9 times out of 10, those people are completely different. What they're doing is completely different or sounds different or looks different. But they're still just as successful. And the reason is because they were able to evolve, adapt, grow, and still continue to throw themselves into it and keep it unique and keep it them. But they were able to adjust and adapt and learn and grow. And you'll notice that pattern with the most successful people. They're not the same as you probably would remember their start or their claim to fame. They're not the same. They grow and they change. And if you're not willing to do that, you're probably not going to become successful.
Live life nice. Give me a quick, I got some questions about it. So just give me that quick like overview.
Spiel.
This is like something that you've been working on for a while though. Cause I've been seeing some videos, like I was, did a little bit of research here. But even, was it 2010, 12? Like you've been working on this project for a little while.
Yeah. And it all comes back to what I said, just start now. This Live Life Nice was a start now. I started something like this over 10 years ago. It went from being a slogan I said with my friends, we're the nice guys, to being a t-shirt company, nice brand, to now a cause-driven digital media company and apparel company, Live Life Nice. Our sole purpose is to empower, motivate, and inspire people to be nice and do nice. And we want to do that through telling stories, making an impact to those stories, challenging people's way of thinking with those stories, and then giving a call to action after those stories for people to take action. Also on our social media, if you check it out, every post that we make, we want to have some type of impact. We want someone to be able to take something from it, whether it be a simple message of do something nice for someone, or whether it be someone's personal story that makes someone go, wow, I can definitely identify with that, and wow, I should definitely make that change or make that adjustment. Or, man, I should tell that person I love them, or man, I should really do something nice for this person that's done that for me. Like we kind of want to leave people with those gems and motivate them to just live life nice. It's really that simple. We have a big partnership that I'm going to be announcing soon with a huge media conglomerate, one of the biggest in the world. We'll be creating digital content for them, and also our apparel we're looking to get with some national retailers. So I should have some pretty big announcements in the future. But for now, we're going to start on social media, and we're going to start creating some short form and some long form pieces that we'll probably launch in the summer. So right now we're just social media, but it's really simple, man. We're just a digital media company that creates apparel that basically inspires people to be nice.
I love it.
It's like
simple as that.
Simple.
The simplest ideas are the best, and it stood out to me because I have an idea that I've been working on for a video. I'm starting to do these like direct message type things, just with some ideas of my own about how to run a business, how to grow something, how to make a better podcast. And one of my the videos is called, it may not, this is not the same voice that you have, but it's like be nice, you asshole. So it's like. And I'm just trying to like, I'm still working on the script, but like the whole idea is that I've experienced this since I started. And, a lot of people have this expectation of like a business person is this hard edged, like really not nice person that will walk over everybody to get to the top.
Yep.
And I've experienced that in my professional life. And like, I've worked with people who don't make me feel good, don't make me feel comfortable, kind of pin you into a place that you don't want to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, people that are very manipulative and can kind of work their way to getting what they want, and then you leave the conversation agreeing with them, but then you're like, wait a minute, why did I just agree to do that?
Yep.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
Yep.
And there are so many other people that I know that are genuine, that care about me, that are nice, that I think do it the right way. And it's like, why choose that path? And I guess my question is, why do you think some people go down that path and like feel like they need to be assholes, feel like they need to kind of give that negative energy out there?
I think that it's a very common trait that people have at the top. And when I say, I'm referring to like being negative, being condescending, or being rude, or being whatever you want to call it, right? It's a common theme. I don't know why. Maybe it's intimidation. Maybe it's people look at it as a sign of power. But I think the people that aren't that way evolve into becoming that way because they feel like they have to, because they feel like they won't be successful otherwise. And maybe they look up to the people that are that way and they just want to become successful, so they follow suit, right? Even if they don't agree with it. I think that happens too much. And I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you have to lead by using fear. I don't think you have to do that to become respected or to acquire power. I think, honestly, the best leaders are the complete opposite. The real leaders are the complete opposite way. Fear, it definitely it obviously controls a mass of people. You can control a large group of people with fear, right? But you can also influence a large group of people by doing the right thing, by being a good person, and by speaking truth and doing good by people. And that has been proven over the course of history, time after time. And for me, I guess, like, I love what you're working on because that is exactly why I started this. I always felt like growing up, a couple things. One, I hated how in the world of media, it's always negative. Negative stuff gets the most attention and the most praise. Always. I hate that. I feel like there's so much going on in the world that is positive, and no one cares about it because we're trained to not care about it. We're brought up not caring about it. It's something that we don't know. No one teaches us when we're young to acknowledge and to praise the good things happening. We're taught to talk about things that are happening bad in our world. It's what we see on the news every day, all day. And not that we shouldn't be informed, but I think that if maybe we saw a little bit more of the people who were doing great things, and maybe if we heard more about it, and maybe if those people were praised and acknowledged the same way that these negative people are, it would inspire more people to be that way as well. And I think it's lacking, especially in a time like now. We're not hearing a lot of positive things, and a lot of people feel hopeless. And when you're hopeless, it leads you to negative things, right? Like when you're hopeless and you think, well, we got nothing to look forward to. I might as well do whatever I want and go, like nothing positive comes from that. So I think my purpose and one of my goals is to make a change to that. Why I'm not going to sit around and complain about that anymore. I'm going to do something about it. Am I going to change the world? I don't know. Hopefully, but I'm going to be able to live my life saying I did everything that I could to make a change to that, latching onto that idea and taking more action versus just posting prayers, praying for you, or hashtag this. Like, now let's go a little further now. Like let's do something. Yeah,
I think what's amazing today, and a lot of people don't realize it, right? We there's a lot of negativity just across the board in media, and because I think that's probably what gets the most clicks. It's usually pretty sensational, like the feel good stories. They have one per nightcast, but now it's obviously moving away from that. We're moving away from the point where we have no control over the media we consume. Like it used to be, you just turn on the TV and you can decide, I don't want this, I want this. But today, people don't realize it, but you have 100% control over the people you follow through Facebook, through everything you do. Yep. You may not have complete control over the advertisements that you're served to you. They still do reflect the thing. They got the cookies and the algorithms. They're following you around. So there is an element of control to what ads you get served. But go through your Twitter feed or your Instagram and make sure you unfollow people that are consistently negative, that maybe aren't serving you or adding value to your life. Right. And then add Live Life Nice on every account. But if you follow people like that, like organizations like that, and people like you who are spreading a positive message, that stuff really matters. It's like when you think about just I bring this up a lot, but it's like somebody beeps at you on the side of the road, or they're behind you, and they wait 1 second when the light goes green and they start honking their horn at you, and you're like, Can you relax? But then, like, obviously that influences you. That changes your mood. And all of a sudden, that, like, dude, that takes forever for me to just shake off.
You're right.
Like, I'm not that good at just forgetting about things.
Have you ever beeped behind you before? Like, has someone ever beeped at you and you go, boop, but it's, like, directed to the person behind you?
No, I've never, I didn't know that was a possibility.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
I created that. And it's not nice.
No,
and I shouldn't
it's not
do that.
nice.
It's not
Yeah.
nice. It's
Every
not
once in a while we have a bad day. But no, it's definitely one of those things that, like, you know, and the people in your life, you know, your close friends, your family, the people that you interact with, you got to make sure that you're allowing positivity. And, like, say if you really want to grow or you want to, like, learn how to be better at business, surround yourself with people that are better than you at that.
Yes.
That's the only way, I think.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Your circle, like, reflects who you are. And I know kids hear that and they're like, what are you talking about? I control it. I do whatever I want. But, like, no. Don't get it twisted. If you should never be in a circle where you are the smartest person, the brightest person. You want to surround yourself around people who are challenging you, who are teaching you, who are lifting you up, who are motivating you and inspiring you to be better. Somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, what is your dream girl? Like, what's your dream girl? Like, your perfect girl. And my answer was someone who will always make me want to be a better person. Someone who literally motivates me to, like, be like, man, she is so, like, I gotta catch up. Like, that's my perfect woman. Someone who makes me better. Someone who inspires me to become a better person. I feel like you always want to surround yourself around people like that. Like, whether it be your friends, whether it be your mentors. And that's another thing, finding a mentor. And it's not that hard to find a mentor. A true somebody who's doing something positive, who has wisdom, who can help you.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't find a mentor in person, sometimes it's tough. When I was starting out, you know what I mean? You find some along the way, but books were huge for me. Like, because then it's the kind of guiding wisdom and principles and, like, just integrity, right? Like, there's certain things that you need to learn when you're young that will carry through, but mentor is huge.
Yeah, it is. I think people forget about that, you know, and they feel pressure and feel like they have to do it by themselves. And sometimes they feel like they don't have support from their parents, or they might not have parents, you know, or they might feel neglected from that standpoint, and they might try to say, well, I'm just gonna get all this energy and motivation to do it on my own, type of a thing. And they forget, like, hey, you know, it doesn't have to be your mom, it doesn't have to be your dad, it doesn't have to be your cousin, it could be a stranger, or it could be a book. But you should have something you can go to. And you should prioritize some time in your life to find that something. Like, that should be something important to people. And I think that is a thing that a lot of people forget to do, is find a mentor, find a person that you can always lean on for advice when you need it. Because there's going to be plenty of times like that in your life where you're just not going to have the answer. And that's fine. It's
right.
okay.
And that's where actual human mentors in person or on the phone help, because everybody's circumstances are different. I started to take questions on the podcast too, because it's like, I want to hear exactly what people are going through. What I'm trying to do now is actually get, like, very specific. So say, like, somebody's like a producer and they have a beat that they want to, like, get feedback from, like, send in the beat, and then I'll have, like, a rapper on the show and then we can talk about it.
I love that.
But I feel like there needs to be, like, you need really specific advice and guidance. And sometimes you can hear somebody else's story and get some lessons from that. But if you know somebody you can go to and be like, hey, listen, I'm having a problem with this. You know, what would you do in my situation?
Right.
And a lot of times there's not an easy answer, right? It's
it's never easy.
When you have, like, these challenging questions where you're like, I don't know what to do. A lot of times it's the most difficult answer is the right one. It's having that conversation that you don't want to have, right?
Yes.
How many times have you just put off that conversation because you're like, oh God, that's going to be uncomfortable. Like, you know, you're in a terrible relationship. You want to break up. How long are you going to put that off for, right? Like, you can't put off your life. You need to eventually, like, face those challenging conversations to be able to grow from them.
Now, that right there, you could have a whole show about that topic.
For
like,
real.
Yo, you're right. Like, life is hard. So it's going to be hard whether you're doing what you love to do or whether you're doing what you hate to do. So wouldn't you rather go through life, which is going to be hard regardless, doing what you love to do, or at least trying to?
Yeah.
Because life is going to be hard regardless. Right? I didn't.
Yeah. You got to get that shit out of the way. The stuff that's on your to-do list that you keep pushing to the
Pushing
next day,
off.
keep pushing to the next day. Get it done. Get it out of there. And then all of a sudden your mind is clear.
Yeah.
And then you can work on the shit you need to work on. Whether it's your taxes or whether it's a conversation, just get it done today.
And it's just, again, it's like, you just got to stop being so afraid. You just got to stop being so scared to lose. You're already losing. Mm-hmm. You're losing by not doing anything. You're losing by not taking action, whether it's getting healthier, whether it's making more money, or whether it's changing your profession. You're losing by not trying. Stop listening to everyone else and following everyone else's path and doing what people are telling you to do that you don't even know. Just do what you want to do. You're going to be happy.
I feel like you are somebody who's so I'm getting better at doing like interviews, and I mean, I'm coming from behind the camera. So I feel like, you know, I'm over 50 episodes in at this point. I feel like I've learned a lot, but I feel like you've also probably learned a ton in terms of interviewing people, high pressure situations. Like, how do you approach those situations where you're like, you know, anything can happen, and you want to make sure. I don't know. Do you prep like every interview you do? A lot of times you just have to kind of fly in there, right?
So I think where I get the best engagements and interactions is when I do not plan. What I do is I get my knowledge, I do my upfront research on the person, so that ultimately, if this thing crashes and burns, I'll have a list of questions to ask.
Sure.
But I'm hoping that when I start the interview, I don't ask any of them, because I'm hoping that I can start conversation with this person and get some info that I wouldn't know to ask, because this person's just going to talk and I'm going to ride off of that. So I've also noticed when I'm thrown into situations with no prep, last minute changes, when I try to, there's this moment, right, where you're like, you only have a couple seconds to put it together.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm there all the time. It's like how I live my life, and it's terrifying.
When I try to put together a plan in that little bit of time, it usually fumbles. Right. When I get that moment, I go, nope, not even going to think about it. I look at whatever I have to do, and I just do it. Literally. And the only reason I'm successful is because I'm confident about it. I just go into it like, this is going to be fine. And it always ends up being fine. Right. And the few times that I've went into it like, oh, this might not work out, guess what? It didn't work out.
I think, actually, what I thought about doing that is like, we try to have a sense of control, and we try to over-prepare for an interview, and we try to figure out everything that we could possibly say and every question we could have. But as you and I both know, you enter a conversation, you have two people, there's a chemistry with any two people that come together.
Yep.
And that conversation is going to unfold in ways that you would never expect.
Right.
And when you're trying to plan, and this is actually one of the things that I love about doing these podcasts in person, is that it's, first of all, it's just intimate. It's like you actually get to meet people and connect. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, I could do about 20 phone call podcast interviews a day and just go through a list. But then that's not what people want. That's not what I want.
Right.
Like, I don't want to just go like, question 1, question 2, because it's not really about, exactly like the advice that we're giving or the specific takeaways. It's about a feeling you get after leaving that conversation. You're like, oh shit, okay, cool. Like I definitely learned a lot from that, but it's more of like a knowing than a knowledge thing where you're just memorizing facts and figures.
Right, exactly. I think this is important. I love what you're doing, because I know when I'm watching interviews or podcasts that are similar to this, what I want to learn is like the person and how they think and how they articulate and why they did what they did, or what was the motivation behind what they did, you know? Mm-hmm. And these conversations are important. We could never have this type of interaction via phone call. I'm looking at you, we're talking, and you're getting stuff out of me that I wouldn't have been able to say if I was answering a Q&A via emails, or whether if we were on a call, you know, like it's great. And kudos, hats off to you. I love what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You're really good at what you do. So, I mean, that's why I'm here. I literally hit you up. Like, you're like, I love it.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, this dude looks like he's doing some pretty dope shit. No, it's definitely, it's all about learning, man. And I just had this photographer, Caroline Lee, on, and we were just talking about just making something, putting it out there. making something, putting it out there. And it was all about rejecting perfection and not trying to make everything pixel perfect.
Yep.
And that's how I felt and still feel about this podcast. And it's like, I find subtle ways to improve. I find ways that things that work and things that don't work. But if I never put out that first one, if I just waited and maybe just kept recording but then not releasing,
right,
I wouldn't have learned as much, and I wouldn't have been able to grow. And then you kind of, as the audience grows, you can kind of learn with them, and you can kind of figure out the direction you want to take it and head. But without that first step, you're not going to be able to actually evolve.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just feel like I'm trying to articulate it in a cooler way.
That's the story of my life too. It's like, can I say this in a better way?
How do I say this?
You know, my favorite thing about making a podcast is that I get to edit it later. So if I sound like an idiot, dude, you know what I do? Sometimes I just have these rambling thoughts for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I didn't even
say anything
because I'm trying to get to the question.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna blabber on because I know that I'm gonna pause. All right, so my question, and then I can just cut it, and it's perfect. I sound great. Now, a lot of times lately, I've just been leaving it in, and I'm like, screw it. Then that's part of the evolution of like being okay with being an idiot or making a mistake. Because because if I make sense 80% of the time, I think my audience will forgive me when I sound like an idiot for 5 or 20.
We all know you're not an idiot, so it's okay if you sound like an idiot a couple of times. You know what it does? It makes you human.
Yeah. My dad said, it's all right, and this is the be nice thing. It's like, it's all right to act like an asshole every once in a while. Just don't be one.
Be one.
Yeah.
Right.
So that to me is like, you know what? We all have our bad days. We all, are a little foggy sometimes. But as long as you just keep putting in the work and edit out the times you make mistakes, everything will be good. Sweet, man.
Real talk.
You want to do quick questions? Quick questions, not quick answers. So you can elaborate. You don't have to feel like you need to answer them.
Okay.
Super pithy.
Cool.
But just kind of ways to expand the conversation a little bit.
Okay.
It's funny because this has happened to me like twice. I asked Rich Roll too, like, oh, how do you like interview people? He's like, first of all, I don't ask any questions that I wrote down. And then I'm like, next question. I have quick questions here. And it just happened on this one. But anyway.
That's great.
I like it because, I don't know.
No, listen, I think it's more so like, the type of interviews I do are live,
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like doing this. Like
a lot of them are so quick too.
Yeah. And all right, I'll have like 30, 45 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes at the most to get a really good interaction with someone.
Yeah.
So like, for me to go, how are you feeling today? He might say something like, I slipped on a banana pill today, but you know what? I'm feeling good. I don't want to go to question 2 and say, are you enjoying your time here? No, I want to say, wait a minute, you slipped on a banana pill? Of course I didn't write for question 2. Wait a minute, you slipped on a banana pill. That's, I mean, it is
totally.
what it is.
Yeah.
Let's do these questions. Come on.
Let's do this.
I want you to ask every single one that you wrote down.
I'm going to do it. It's going to take us a while. What book has had the biggest impact on your life?
What book had the biggest impact on my life? So there's a book called The Truth About Lying by Judith Viorst. I used to lie a lot, and after I read that book, I stopped.
Wow.
I think that a lot of people everyone lies every now and again, but a lot of people are liars, and they don't know they are. And I think it's good for you to acknowledge that you are a liar and stop doing it. It will make you a better person. It will help you be an honest person, and it will help others around you respect you a whole lot more.
That's one of those conversations that's so fun to have. So Sam Harris has a book called Lying as well. And I think it's based upon a conversation or a lecture class that he had in college. And it's just the idea that you don't ever have to lie.
Yeah.
If somebody says, hey, what do you make? What's your salary? I don't feel comfortable answering that question. You didn't lie and you didn't tell them. You know what I mean? There's ways that you can go about your life and be truly authentic, not have to remember all these lies that stack upon each other. And, what's worse than getting caught in a lie? And then you feel like a fraud. Your character is in jeopardy.
It's and it all comes back to what we were saying, because this will affect your career. This will affect your relationships with not only your family, maybe your significant other, maybe your friends, right? It's like, people won't always tell you how they feel about you. And that's, they might feel a certain way about you because you lie. And that person is lying to themselves and they're lying to you because they're not even being honest with you how they feel about you. But it's just a bunch of lies. It's lies both ways, right? If you are so honest with yourself and so honest with others, they will feel more obligated to be the same back to you. And you could spread that. And then if you're comfortable with yourself, again, like I said, it'll help you progress in your own life.
Dude, documentary, just watched it last night. I think it's called The Armstrong Lie. Lance Armstrong.
Ooh.
Holy shit.
Damn.
That's crazy. Because like his whole life was
Yeah.
just guys and lies stacked on top of lies
That's
on top of
crazy.
lies.
That's good.
And it's like, it's crazy. A story like that, I definitely recommend it because we kind of all grew up to love Lance Armstrong and like love what he's done like through sports, and then all of a sudden you find out that he's been doping this whole time and been lying about it, and then you're like, oh shit, do I know this person? What drives you?
What drives me? My family. They are my motivation. They are my everything. They are the people who inspire me to be better, and they are the people who I want to be better for. And life without them would be very, very purposeless. I wouldn't know what to do, where to go, or why. I love my family, and everything I do is in hopes that I can make my family happy, and live happy lives. And thinking about my family makes me happy, and thinking about family in general makes me happy. And I aspire to one day have my own family and feel the same way about them as well. You know, family comes in all different ways. It might not be by blood, but it's the most important thing to have in your life, period. Nothing else matters. And for anyone who may have forgotten that, please tap back into it. Because there was a point in time in my life where I forgot that. And I neglect the very thing that drove me to get where I got. And money is not money. Never choose money over family. Never choose anything over your family.
Love it, man. What one skill have you leveraged in a way that you think others haven't?
I think that's a great question, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say my transparency is a gift. I think that I have figured out a way to appropriately present myself as myself in every situation and every platform of my life, like professionally, relationship, everything. And it has helped me develop this unique, genuine energy that people gravitate to. And that's what's kind of helped me along the way. So basically, I figured out a way to I can't explain it. Like, for example, if I'm around a billionaire or a millionaire or a very important person, I've figured out a way to where I can still engage with that person in a way that no one would ever do. Like, Christian, how did you just say that or do that, but still manage to be so respectful and not cross the line? I've just figured out how to do that. I figured out how to be me in every situation. So I'll call it transparency, and I've used that to develop relationships with people. And it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. Like, it happens naturally. But I think because of that natural gift that I have, I've acknowledged it over the course of time. And now I understand why maybe I get in situations where it's like, he shouldn't be in that situation. How did he get in that situation? That's how.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. No, because I think we all have a tendency to play the part.
Right.
And so when you're at the grocery store, you play the part as the person that's buying the groceries. Or when you're the cashier, you play the part as the cashier. Hey, how's it going? How's your day going today? And not really infusing your personality into that and being like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not just a cashier. You know?
Yes, exactly.
This is who I am.
You articulated that way better than me. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I don't know. I think you did all right.
That's exactly, you got it.
So, a couple more questions here. What's the simplest advice that's the most important to follow?
Start now. Start now. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. Go. Do it. Mess up. Make mistakes. Look stupid. Just go. Stop waiting.
I already got look stupid down, so I can move on to step 2. I got this fun thing where I'm trying to get The Rock on my podcast. I don't know if you saw. I got The Rock right behind on your shoulder up here.
Sexy man.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's I'm trying to figure out a way to get him on my podcast.
Let's do it.
I wonder if you have any advice for me.
Have at him every day.
That's what I do. No, I got a website. Have you seen the website?
No.
Let me
show me right now.
Let me bring this up.
You at him every day?
No, but my audience does, because I have a tweet button on the website. So this is gettheRockOnMattspodcast.com. Yeah, no, this is like the whole about, and then look, this massive tweet button. So you click on the tweet button, and then it automatically pulls up randomly generated tweets for The Rock. I've got 15 to 20 of these tweets in here.
So how much content have you made based around this idea?
A couple videos. I got GIFs here because I carry around The Rock in my wallet every day.
Is he like your man crush? Like, is he like your...
Dude, it started out as a joke, and then it just got real. Because it started out as me being like, all right, who would be the all-time...
He's so awesome.
Who would be the all-time interview? Who has the best ground up story? Like, The Rock started out $7 to his name, and the dude has just reinvented himself so many times throughout his career, and now he's on the top. Also, it's the challenge. He's the busiest person on the planet. Legitimately does 2 movies a year. So it's like, how do I get his attention?
Okay.
And then how do I get him to come over to my apartment?
Well, I think you're off to a wonderful start. You have a whole website dedicated to it.
That's next level. That took a lot of time.
Which is a better website than I've seen from businesses and companies.
I know.
Like, you have a whole situation.
No, yeah.
What I would say is, don't try to reach out to him.
Yeah.
I would start to really reach out to people in his team. Have you done that?
The biggest step I've had is Brian Bowen Smith is a celebrity photographer out here in LA. I had him on the podcast, and then it just came up in the interview that they're friends. And I was like, what? So he added him, and he took a photo with the Rock and posted it on Instagram. You know what? Who knows? I have a feeling that he might have heard of it, but then also if he did, this shit happens to him all the time. This is just a daily occurrence for him, so he probably as quickly forgot about it.
So here's my last form of advice for you.
Yeah.
And I think you have what it takes to figure this out. Develop an incentive that will not benefit him or you, but will benefit thousands of people.
I've thought about that, but here's the problem that I worry about is that I don't want to almost be a guilt thing, right? Be like, hey, if we raise X amount of money.
Why not?
I don't know, you're kind of strong arming him in a way, right?
No, you're not.
If I say if I'll raise $50,000 for charity, but I feel like I have to have the Rock to agree to the terms, right?
Of course he would.
No, but
you would want to have the discussion with him before putting that out.
Yeah,
I think
that makes sense.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think you should take that initiative, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to do it. He's busy.
Right.
So you have to do something, right?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, that's what it's going to be. It's, you know what I mean? I would like at the end of the day to be able to say if he does come on the podcast, how can we make this? How can we actually help? How can we actually, contribute to his charity? Maybe we could have a call to action that would be like, go to gettheRockOnMattspodcast.com, and then there's a donate button where all the proceeds go to charity.
I'm totally down with that. That's great.
I think that's the way to do it. But so I think I got to try to get in with his PR.
It sounds
I'm making some phone calls. You know what I mean?
It's not hard, actually. So I needed to get in contact with Tina Fey one time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know where to start. Google Tina Fey's manager. I Googled it. Literally is a number.
Because those people are accessible. They have to be. The agents and the managers.
Literally called the number. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Tina Fey. And I got in contact and sent the email in literally 5 minutes. So that's just an example of you could probably get in contact with Rock's team ASAP.
Yeah. And I think the idea is kind of novel.
I'm surprised you haven't already. You probably have, haven't you?
No, I've been sleeping. Literally, dude, that's been on my to-do list. I keep pushing it.
Stop pushing it off.
Yo, let me show you.
You're going to email them as soon as we're done this podcast.
Look at Tuesday. What does it say?
Oh my God.
Call the Rock's puzzles. I've been pushing it.
I would love to see
I would love to see
the Rock on this podcast.
No, wouldn't it be fucking
in this
crazy?
house. Like, you can't do it in his, like...
I don't know. That's the one
No.
thing that I don't know, dude.
He's
I don't
gotta
know.
come here. That's what
know.
makes it like. That's what
No,
makes
I
it
know.
legendary. Is that he comes to this house,
I know.
to your house, in this at this table.
I 100% agree with you.
Right?
And that's the most insane part. I'm gonna have to get like a double wide chair.
No. But this now, when it happens, because this is what we're
It's
talking.
gonna
That's why
happen.
we're talking about this.
This is it. Yeah.
When it happens, this can't be the only rock photo here. You need to like rock out.
Yeah,
You need to do
yeah,
something so legendary that he will never forget coming into this house to
Yeah.
talk to you.
Yeah. It's gonna happen. If you run into him, just
I'm actually gonna hit up a couple of my friends. I'm pretty cool with one of Kevin Hart's managers.
Oh, that's it.
And
They're like best
they're
buds.
very, very close, obviously. So I'll shoot him a note and see what he says. I don't know.
Yeah, just send him the website. Be like, my friend Matt is insane.
No, I will.
He made a website.
No, I'm going to. When we're
Yeah.
done.
I
I'm
love it,
serious.
man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. Just a couple more questions here, and we'll wrap up. So, one thing to read, watch, or listen to before my audience goes to bed tonight. What should they read, watch, or listen to?
There's a book called Leadership and Self-Deception. Let me get the artist for you real quick. All right, so it's by the Arbinger Institute. It is a brilliant book. It helps change your perspective on everything that happens to you in your life. And I think if you have the right positive perspective on anything, you will always evolve into a better person coming out of any experience, whether it's losing someone close to you, whether it's going bankrupt, whether it's gaining weight when you don't want to. Anything that comes your way, if you look at it with the right perspective, you'll be able to tackle it, handle it, and evolve from it in a better way, in a positive way. And it's really helped me. It's really, really helped me. It's really good. Leadership and Self-Deception.
Got it. I'll check that one out.
Do it.
And to finish up, what's the best place for people to connect with you online? I know you got a couple.
Best place for people to connect with me would be, number 1 would be Instagram. Number 2 would be Twitter. Number 3 would be Facebook.
At Christian Crosby.
At Christian Crosby on all of them. But
Easy.
I would much rather everyone follow Live Life Nice.
Yes.
We just launched our social media, and it's just the beginning. Like, we have so much we've been filming that we're not probably going to release until the summer, which I can't wait. But Live Life Nice. Please support that. It's great, man. It's really going to make an impact because we are always going to put purpose before money. And I know, like you said, you have to keep the money to keep the business alive. But I think what will keep the business alive will be the purpose, because people can see through businesses, and people can see through movements and see through the purpose behind stuff. And when they know it's not real, they don't want to support it. So we're going to stick with purpose, and we want the people that really care to be our group of people that support us. So rock out with us.
All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you so much for having me.
We did it.
Definitely got a nice tea for you.
Hell yeah.
I'm a big supporter of yours, so anything I can do to help you, please let me know.
Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
All right, that was the episode for today. That was Christian Crosby. As always, I hope you guys got some value out of it. I hope you like this show. I certainly really enjoyed producing this one. I feel like there's just like like you meet people from Philly, you can kind of tell. It's just, I feel like there's like just a natural camaraderie when like you've lived in a city, the same city as somebody for any period of time. So it's cool to be able to catch up and talk with Christian here. Was really excited to get him on the show. Let's see here. As always, let's wrap up with a couple ways to support the show. We don't do advertising here. I don't bother you with trying to sell you underwear or mattresses, but I do bother you and ask you to leave a review or rating on iTunes. That would be hugely helpful. Or you could share your favorite episode with a friend. It might be this one. And lastly, you can send in your questions. If you've got a question for the podcast, the new segment that we've been working on, answering your questions, has been a lot of fun. It's been a chance for me and my guests to kind of get to the bottom of whatever you're struggling with. So if you have a question for the podcast, for me or for my guests, send them in to hello@mattdiavella.com. As always, your support of this show is what I enjoy most about it. It's amazing to hear from you, and to get your support means the world. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.